Hi everyone, welcome to a very special Be Free with Jodie B podcast episode where I'm actually being joined by one of my lovely clients from inside of Be Free Coaching, Elin. So you might be listening to this on Spotify or you might even be watching it on my YouTube channel. So I just want to say thank you for listening or watching and just a massive welcome really. So during this episode, we are going to be discussing Ellen's progress, experience, and ups and downs as well. So Ellen is now going to introduce herself and give you lovely listeners just a bit of a background about her. But before she does that, I just wanted to let everyone know that Ellen actually recorded a really lovely testimonial for me only, I think it's a couple of weeks ago now. Um, and it's on my Instagram page, which is at Jodie and B Fitness. So if you haven't already, please go and show your support because it's really, really lovely. So yeah, Ellen, I'm gonna pass it over to you for a couple of minutes and let us hear a little bit about you, really.
Lovely, thank you, Geordie. So I'm Elin. I live in South Wales in the UK, and I've been working with Geordie now for I think almost coming up to 6 months, almost I think since April, so 5 or 6 months. Um, and yeah, what a difference it's made to my life already. It's been really lovely to work with Geordie, and you're so personable and so friendly that it just makes that I think that easier because overcomes a barrier almost, if that makes sense. But
Oh.
yeah, it's been a really, really great time so far on the program.
Okay, so why don't we start then by talking a little bit about where you were then, like in comparison to now. So I think, like you said, it was back in April, wasn't it? So how were you feeling back in April when we first spoke? If you can like take your mind back to then.
Yeah, it's quite easy for me to remember how I was feeling because I'd felt like it for such a long time.
Yeah.
Mentally probably not in the best place. It'd been a hard couple of years and just not feeling like myself. I think the person I compare myself to always is who I was before I went to university in 2014.
Right.
I was back then so happy, so bubbly, so joyful. And obviously as you grow up and you go through things, life just gets you a bit down. And
Mm.
university, I think, is when it really took an impact as well on my eating and my health. I really wasn't looking after myself. Oh, I was in the beginning, but yeah, it caught up with me in the end by, drinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Different lifestyle, isn't it?
100%. And when you're living with people and they're doing the same thing, it's just like, oh, well, I'll go with the crowd. I'll do what they're doing. They're having a pizza. I'll have a pizza. Or they're going to McDonald's. I'll go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's like a catch-22 because you shouldn't be doing that. Not a lot anyway. Obviously, you can do that, but not as often as we probably were in university. And also drinking. I think that it's obviously a big drinking culture in university.
Yeah.
And I think that just caught up with me. And when I left university, that never stopped. It kind of just continued. And I was in a relationship at the time and we were both just bad influences on each other. Like, should we have a pizza? Yes, let's have a pizza.
Mm.
So yeah, back in April, mentally and physically, just not in a great place. Not looking after myself, not sleeping well. I think most nights is probably having about 3 to 4 hours sleep, which
Wow.
you can't survive on that.
That's crazy. I remember when you did your testimonial, that stood out to me actually. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe like how little sleep you were actually having back then.
And at the point as well, having late nights. So it was, I'd be up to, well, I'd go to bed at like a decent time, maybe like 10:30, 11 o'clock, but just be lying there awake for hours, just not being able to sleep. And I think that partly is down obviously to diet and my lifestyle at the time.
Mm. Yeah.
But yeah, so back in April, just not in a good place, really not in a good place.
Mm.
And just not looking after myself either. But it came to a point where I thought, no, I've got to do something about this because this isn't how I want to live. I want to be able to feel good every day. And
Yeah.
at that point I wasn't. So yeah, back then it wasn't a good time.
And something that stood out to me actually when you did your testimonial for me was what you'd said about kind of wanting to reach out sooner, but you hadn't. And you said that like if you'd have done it sooner, you'd be even further along now, which is hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And like it's good on reflection. But Do you think there was anything like holding you back from getting in touch? Like, was it like a lack of self-belief, or like what do you think was holding you back from, like getting going to begin with?
I think it probably was self-belief and also other people's belief in me because I had tried in the past to, eat healthily, get out more. I really did try.
Mm.
Um, and then my family just every time is like, oh, here she goes again, type of thing. And that just gets you down
Yeah.
because if nobody else believes in you, you sort of can't believe in yourself either because you need, or not that you need people to believe in you, but I think it really does help. So I remember seeing like your posts on Instagram, and I know you'd messaged me a couple of times. I don't think I responded, but I thought, yeah, I probably could do that. But yeah, that was holding me back. It's just what will other people say? Like, oh, here she goes again on another fad or trying something else. And it's not gonna last. Um, and also, I just want to, like, I think whenever I think about each year, when it comes to Christmas time, I always think, right, next year will be the year when everything will be okay.
Yeah.
And it gets to that year and it gets to the next Christmas, you're like, oh gosh, I've wasted another year.
Yeah.
And I'm 28, so I'm 30. Well, where am I? September, yeah. So I'm 28, I'm 29 in February, and I just think by 30, I'd love to be in a place where I'm both like physically and mentally just in a good place.
Yeah.
Um, I'm already getting there. I mean, mentally, I feel great. I think I've told you before, like this is the best I've felt in years, and I've even said it to my family. I haven't felt so good in such a long time, and I just feel happy.
Amazing. Mm.
So yeah, self-belief was what was holding me back. I'll go off on a tangent, but yeah, self-belief and other people's belief was what was holding me back. Yeah.
It's really sad though, isn't it, that other people's opinions and thoughts can have such an impact on you. I mean, I don't mind telling you, and for everybody listening, I've just been to a big conference mastermind day in London filled with coaches, and lack of belief was something that came up in the room, even from us.
Mm.
And it kind of stems from very much similar to what you've just said of people giving their opinions and worried of, posting something of what someone else is going to think. And it's it's really like sad. Like I've like, hold myself accountable now on here. I've said that I need to stop doing that as much because I say that to you guys all the time. Like you need to like ignore what other people are saying, and you know that you're in the best space for doing this and working on you. But yeah, it is hard, isn't it, when people are just it's just like a lot of noise, I feel,
Yeah,
like unwanted noise. And a lot of the time we don't even ask for it. It just
exactly.
it just comes at you, doesn't it? Um, so I know that you said that you'd tried a few things before and that your family had maybe said like, oh, here she goes with another fad diet. So what could you give us an idea of what different quote unquote diets that you've tried in the past?
Yes, the main one is Slimming World. So I went to Slimming World in university, and when I came out of university, I did try that. And we've had this conversation before where the first week it does work. Um, it doesn't, but it does. The way, like,
Yeah,
it's what water weight that's coming off that first week because yeah, and that's what that's what I tried. And yeah, the first week always lose a bit of weight, and then the next week comes and it's like, oh, it's nothing, or it's 1 pound, or you know.
yeah.
But I think that restriction on yourself as well of having the sins, yeah, I when you look back now, I think that's actually horrendous.
Yeah,
Um, but that's what I tried, and it wasn't it had no longevity. It just didn't. I couldn't stick to it. I just think there was so much restriction on it. But
yeah,
then you could have as many potatoes, as many pastas as you want, and that just didn't make sense.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's what I tried. And I did try a deficit at one point, but that was without having somebody there to like coach me. So I
yeah,
think without having that somebody that hold you responsible and hold you accountable for things, it just doesn't work for me. I need somebody to be like, right, you haven't done this, or
yeah.
you're doing this great. I think
Check
I
your diary.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think like just hearing you talk though, even in the amount of time that we've been working together, oh God, it really makes me really proud because the fact that you're now sat saying, like, oh, that would have been like water weight. It's just, like you
Yeah.
hear like how far you've come along already. It's it's
Yeah.
it's lovely to hear. But yeah, no, I mean, I think quite a few ladies and gents within the program have had experience of Slimming World, myself included. And like I say, when you now look back at, labeling foods as sins and bad and having that guilt towards certain foods, it can be like really detrimental
Mm.
to not just your physical health, but your mindset. Like I think it takes a while for those thoughts to
Yeah.
turn into other better thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
have you found that?
I agree. And my mum has done it quite a bit. And even now when I say like say I grab a cup of tea, I'm gonna have maybe a digestive biscuit with it. She's like, oh, can you have that? It's like, of course I can have it. As long as it's within my calories and everything else, of course I can have it. She's like, okay. But it's with everything. It's with everything. If I'm having a meal and I'm having something like maybe like an onion ring when we're out for dinner. Like, can you have that? I'm like, yes, I can have this. Like, of course I can. They just don't get it. And it's because she's in that mindset, because she's done Slimming World before, she just sees it as, oh, that's obviously a sin. It's bad food. You shouldn't be having that. But actually, you can eat what you want as long as it's within your calories and your fats and your carbs and your protein. She just doesn't get it. It's just
Uh,
that's a bad in itself. It's just trying to get through every day, just with her in my ear as well, saying things. So
yeah. But at least, I mean, because you've like had and having this education, I know that it's not like it shouldn't be that responsibility on you, but it's good now that you know confidently
yeah.
what's what, that you can just say that confidently and her not have, kind of cause you to, I don't know, like question yourself or anything like that. And
Yeah.
like you said before, like having a coach, if you do have a question about anything, like you asked something, I think on Zoom not long ago. Oh, what was it about now?
The salt in the water.
That's it. And do you know what I mean? So for me,
Yeah.
for you to have someone to ask that question to, and for me to just like set the record straight with whatever, like
Yeah.
that,
It really
yeah, that
helps.
that made me laugh actually.
Honestly, when my friend mentions like I need to ask Geordie about this because that doesn't right.
Oh, so when it comes to, I know that we've spoken a little bit now about what you've been through and like past experiences. So I'd love for us to kind of talk about some of your experiences inside of Be Free Coaching now and things that you've benefited from and your experience. But before we do that, how does it feel like not just, I know you've made some amazing like physical changes, like yeah, let's start with that actually. How does it feel to like look at those pictures and see your body like changing and knowing that that is, you're doing it in a way where you're not going to go back to that place that you described, how you were feeling back in April.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've only ever looked at the photos when you've sent me like the comparison side by side. It actually pains me to look at the photos, so I don't tend to to click on them and look back. But when you sent me the other day, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, you sent me because I said there'd be no difference in the scales, and that kind of like was like, oh, if it's not on the scales, you kind of feel like you haven't done anything or you've done like or you've had a bad week. But again, that's just a mental block. That's not real. So when you sent me those photos side by side and I saw it, I was actually gobsmacked and I ran downstairs to show my mum. I was like, I know my
Oh,
mum hasn't seen my body probably since I was, before teenager. But I went downstairs like, I need to show you this because I'm so proud of myself. And I showed her,
oh
and she was
God.
like, "Oh my gosh, like, yeah, you've got a shape too. Like, you can see your shape." And I was like, "Yeah, I can see it." And I sent it to my best friends as well. I was like, "Girls, like, I need to show you my body. It's like this is since April, and it's coming off really. It's not slow. It's coming off in a way that's safe, if that makes sense." And I sent it to them, and they were like, "Wow, like you can really see the difference." And it's the first time I've looked at it and thought, "Yeah, it's working. Like I can see it." And I'm even now I'm beaming about it because when I saw those photos, I honestly couldn't believe it, and I still can't. But there's also moments where I look in the mirror and I've got like I've got these pair of trousers I wear walking, and before like on my sides, like I'm quite not that I'm wide, but like I have love handles, and they were kind of like not hanging over the edge, but dipping over, like they weren't sitting nicely. And now they don't do that. So I was looking in the mirror, it's like, oh my gosh, like my body has changed.
Mhm.
And even like looking in the side of the mirror when I've got my bra on, like under here and stuff used to be like quite like rolly, but it's not that rolly anymore. And I see differences. And that just makes me so proud that the work that I'm putting in is working. It's working.
Yeah. Oh, that made me a bit emotional then. Like I proper
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to just because like how oh it's just kind of like hearing how happy it's making you and the way that you were talking then just like beaming with pride, and
yeah,
you should be proud of yourself because like you say, like you're in the right space now, and it's so hard moving like away from the scales and everything that we've like grown up around and diet culture and everything. So the fact that like you're making these changes and you're proud of yourself, which is amazing to hear. Like I absolutely love that. But the difference is, like you say, like in certain clothes or catching yourself in the mirror and sending those pictures to your friends and family, that is massive. Like
yeah.
please tell me when you do stuff like that
Okay.
because like it makes me like so happy. Like I honestly like I'm with you on this journey. So yeah, that's so amazing to hear. And it's so lovely when people, I suppose, like when people notice and tell you, it feels like really good, doesn't it? Because it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like it's working
Yeah,
sort of
it does.
thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And I think I said this before. This is probably back in the summer. I went and had a meal with a couple of my old friends, old work friends I used to work with. I hadn't seen them since April because it was before I went on holidays, which is when before I started this. And I went to see them, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, look at you!" And I said, "What?" They're like, "Your face." Like they were like,
yeah, yeah.
remember telling like they touched my face like you have lost weight. It's like, have I? Because I can't see it. And like, yeah, you have. And it does make you so proud because as I said, like even this week just gone, there wasn't a difference in the scales, but my measurements were down. And that's to me then like, well, okay, yeah. And obviously being on your period and stuff, that affects your weight. But yeah, when I don't see the change in the scales, I just need to call it like forget that and just look at the difference in the photos and the measurements, and those are there. So it obviously is working.
Yeah. No, it's honestly, it's amazing. And another thing that I think stood out for me was not that long ago when you felt confident in that dress that you wore, and you shared with me that you haven't felt comfortable or confident enough in a really long time to have like a full length picture taken.
Yeah.
And when you sent me that, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so amazing.
I was so happy. And I wore that dress actually, oh gosh, when was this? 3 years ago,
Mm,
to my graduation for my PGCE. I wore the exact same dress to that graduation. And I think I obviously had photos for my graduation, but most of them were from the side or from the
mm,
chest up. But yeah, putting that dress on for my friend's wedding and actually standing there, and I felt it as well. I felt like it fit nice and I
yeah.
felt good in it and I felt confident. And I think, yeah, if that was me having not started the program back in April, going to that wedding in September, I wouldn't have felt like that. I probably would have been hiding a bit or maybe wanted like a pashmina just to cover my arms and my belly. But no, I felt so confident and I felt pretty. Yeah.
I love that. No, honestly, that just makes me so happy. I feel like I'm talking to a completely different person than the you when we had that initial call back in April. You've just changed in so many ways, and I feel like we're just getting started. Like
Yeah.
that's what's so exciting. Um, so when it comes to my program, because obviously there'll be some people watching or listening to this that maybe don't know like the ins and outs of what's involved and stuff. Um, what would you say is like your, I don't know, like your favorite part of the coaching, and to give like the listeners a little bit of, we don't have time to go into everything, but obviously we've got like the accountability side. So obviously we do like weekly check-ins. There's the group chat and all the little chats that come with it. There are like obviously the Zooms that we do weekly. So I don't know, what is it that you think that you really enjoy or really like benefit from?
I think it is the weekly check-ins. I think for
Yeah.
me, I look forward to it. I think at the beginning I probably didn't look forward to it, thinking maybe there's not going to be a change, and then I didn't want to disappoint you, but also not disappoint myself.
Yeah.
But actually every check-in I've had, I think there's always been a change, whether that's up and down in measurement, which obviously is bound to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and difference in weight and things. But the weekly check-ins, I love them because I know that you're going to go through all the information I've sent you, like my photos, my measurements, and the form that we fill in. And you're going to go through that and just see how I'm doing, what I've been eating or what I'm up to, and whether that's making any difference to my weight, or like the measurements and things. And also just hearing back from you what you think could be done better next week, or asking me what you think you need to do better to help you next week. All of those things are so helpful because it really makes you think, right, what have I done this week that's affected my steps or affected me not having my water or I haven't hit my protein? I really have to think and look back at myself and think, right, well, that day, instead of having extra protein, you had a chocolate bar to get those calories in instead, which you shouldn't do, or like you can do, but you need to get the protein in. It's just all that accountability I really appreciate, because I think without that I wouldn't be able to stick to it.
Mm.
Yeah, that is my favorite part, is check-ins, and I do love the Zooms as well when I'm able to come to them. So yeah.
Yeah. I think the accountability, it's such like a massive part, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
like you said, not that you would or could disappoint me, but having somebody who you are accountable to that's going to be looking through everything and seeing how you're doing.
yeah,
And obviously like I do dip into your my fitness pal now and again to see how you're getting on and everything. And it's like it's kind of knowing that someone's doing that, isn't it? And you
yeah,
don't want to like disappoint them.
yeah,
It's
literally.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's amazing. And I do think that like the Zooms, the ones that you've like come to and everything, for anybody listening, like Ellen's so, lovely. And you ask the questions, like even if you think it's like a silly question, like I always say, like no question is silly. I would much rather you ask me something and me answer something that maybe I've answered before a few times. Like I honestly, like I do not care. Like I'm a bit weird, but I love like answering those kind of
yeah,
questions. Like I just love it. And just kind of like cutting through like some bullshit maybe that you will have heard like somewhere else or whatever. But yeah, no, that's really lovely to hear. And when it comes to your nutrition, do you think have you seen any patterns in particular foods or recipes that are your kind of like go-tos, or do you like switch things up quite a lot? Because I know
uh,
there's a request for pizza this week, which
gosh, yeah.
needed.
Oh, I've been craving pizza for maybe the last 2 weeks, and I thought I need a pizza. Um, but yeah, obviously the recipes are amazing, and my go-to usually in the mornings, I really like the smoothie. I think because I like to drink my calories rather than eat in the morning. I don't if that's probably not a good thing, but it's for me it
It's what
works.
works for you.
Yeah,
Everyone's different.
yeah, so I really enjoy smoothies. But actually, one of my favorite meals to have is chicken sausage and rice. It's not a recipe that you've given me, but it's one that I really do like to go to because
Mm.
it's quick and not quick and easy, but it's quick and it's tasty.
Yeah.
So rice and sausage and vegetables, and
Mm.
that's my go-to.
Nice and
Um,
balanced as well, isn't it?
yeah, and it's really tasty, and I look forward to that. And sometimes, even if I'm having it 2 days in a row, I don't care because I'm like, I know I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm just enjoying my food, and having no
That's
guilt
amazing.
as well. Just like I said, my mum says, "Oh, can you have them?" I'm like, yeah, of course I can have this. I have no guilt for this. I'm having it because I know I can have it and I'm allowed to have it and it's fine. And in the past, that's been a huge thing for me, is guilt when eating particular types of food,
Yeah.
only because of comments from other people. Like, oh, you're having that again, and oh, isn't that's not good for you? Well, do you know what? I'm gonna have it and I'm gonna enjoy it as well. It's just totally different now. There's just no guilt attached to eating any type of food. I just don't feel it. And I think that's, for me, massive. Really, really big. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like having that confidence to kind of say that now and feel that is amazing. And as well as other people's opinions, going back to like Slimming World and clubs like that, I don't think that those kind of clubs have helped with anything. Like not just kind of like labeling foods, but when you were talking about there like the scales, and that can be such a difficult barrier for so many people. I've been there myself, and it's because weight loss is just always like it's just always like connected to the scales. That's why so many of my posts are kind of, targeted at just helping people realize that there are so many different measurements and metrics that we can look at. And especially as women, honestly, the scales do a madness for me, like on a regular, like day to day, week by week. And that's just because, like, I'm a woman, there's my conditions to consider, like you were saying with like the menstrual cycle. And, that's why I think it's really important for me to discuss like my experience with other people as well, just to let you guys know that like you're not in your own.
Yeah.
Like I'm no different. Like, I'm doing exactly the same, as
Yeah.
you guys are. So but yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up actually about the scales, because like you said before, like the pictures and the measurements, like if you were to kind of just go on the scales, like imagine that we hadn't been looking at these different metrics. Do you think that your mindset would have been in like a different place if you were
100%.
just, yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
if, yeah, because like I said, the skills for me personally haven't changed an awful lot. It's just my
no,
measure come down, but my weight is sort of staying the same.
mm,
Um, yeah, if I had gone by just the scales, I don't think I would have continued either. I probably would have stopped and thought, well, it's not working, my weight's staying on, and
yeah.
it's just not working for me. But actually, it is working because when you look at the measurements, they've come down quite a bit, and the photos you can see the difference. So how that works, I don't know with the with the weight and
Bad, isn't
things.
it?
Yeah, but I would have been in a different place mentally. Probably wouldn't have been. I probably wouldn't be so confident, to be honest. But yeah, yeah. So,
And when it comes to, um, I suppose like your next mini milestone, um, what would you like that to be? Like, how would you like to feel in like another few months or 6 months time? Like, where do you see yourself in that time?
oh, I haven't. I should think about it, but I haven't thought about it, and I know I should think about it because that's what keeps you going as well. Um, but I think I'd like to see a difference in wearing clothes because I still tend to wear baggy clothes, and the top I've got on now is like a long black top. It's
Well, that
yeah.
would be a nice target to have then, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I think seeing
No,
the
that's
difference in my
great.
clothes, wearing something or going shopping and buying something, thinking, yeah, I'll have that and take it home and put it on and think, yep, that's cool. And maybe not be so
Yeah,
baggy, maybe have something more fitting so that you
like
can
a
actually see.
fitted, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be a good goal.
Yeah, no, that's it's when it comes to goals, and it's really important to like set them, and it's great to have like an ultimate goal to work towards. But I think it's really nice and important just to have these like little like stepping stones, because like the sense of achievement of like reaching that and then like moving on to working on something else. I think that's just it's quite nice, because sometimes like the ultimate goal can feel overwhelming, can't it? So it's nice. I think that's a really lovely one to have actually.
Yeah.
No,
Something
that's
nice to wear.
lovely. Yeah. So I'm not going to keep you for too much longer now. But I've really, really enjoyed talking to you. Um, but I know that obviously we've spoken about that you weren't quite sure and you were like and ahhing, and then obviously you've spoken about your experience and like the amazing changes that you've made like
Mm.
literally in your life. So if someone was listening to this and they were maybe a bit like yourself back then and kind of on the fence and not quite sure about reaching out, what what advice would you give to that person?
Oh gosh, well, the first thing I'd say is just go for it because what have you got to lose? I mean, you know, if you the time's, I like that saying, with the time's going to pass anyway. So what are you going to do in that time? That's different. Are you going to do something on your own to try and help yourself get to where you want to be, or are you going to try and get somebody to come and help you? And I would say just go for it, because like I said before to you, I wish I had joined sooner. In my testimony, I wish I had joined sooner, because I'd be further along again, and maybe who knows where I'd be in like 5 months from now if I joined a bit earlier. I would say just go for it. You've got nothing to lose apart from making yourself feel a lot happier in your mental, in your physical. Um, yeah, I mean, you've changed my life essentially. So like, how could I put that into words and make somebody else join? Yeah, like I really can't put that into words, because I just feel like if somebody thinks that they want to do this, they should just go for it, because the time's going to pass anyway, like I just said.
Yeah,
So
no, I love that saying.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, like you said before, like I'll start next month or I'll start next year. Like what I worry about is the fact that it's only September and there is still over 3 months, and the amount of change that can be made in that time is amazing. But there will be some people that kind of wait till the new year.
yeah,
Like, oh, this year's kind of almost at the end of it now, sort of thing. But
yeah.
so much can be done in that time. So
Oh
it's
gosh, yeah, 100%. I mean, after 3 months, I think with you, I mentally was, as I said, was feeling so much better. I remember being on a walk with my mum and just saying to her, like, I'm in such a good place mentally, like you have no idea. So yeah, 3 months is, it doesn't sound like a long time, but it is, and a lot can change in 3 months. Like 100%, you're so right. And why wait till the new year? The new year could come and maybe you don't want to by then, so just do it now.
yeah,
Start
no, I
now.
love that. Oh, thank you so much for joining me, Ellen. Like, honestly, I know that obviously we talk regularly, but to be able to talk like this one
Yeah.
to one, it's just so lovely to hear like your experiences. And this has been, I mean, you've shared some stuff that I didn't even know that's made me like beam with pride. And yeah, I'm just so proud and happy for you. But yeah, it's been so lovely. And I really, like I say, I really appreciate you coming on and yeah, taking your time out to talk to me this evening.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, it's been lovely to chat with you as well. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's okay. So I'm really hoping that if anybody's listening to this, it might just be the thing that someone needs to hear, like that extra push, like not just hearing how it can benefit you from like me as a coach, but you're hearing it from somebody who is literally doing it. So if you're listening to this or watching us talk right now and you felt like Ellen did, like maybe when it comes to nutrition or fat loss, you're a little bit confused, or maybe those diets that Ellen was talking about before, like aren't working for you and you're tired of cutting out those foods because like it's not a nice place to be. I've been there as well. And if you just want to like live your life at the same time as achieving these results, then please just get in touch with me. So my Instagram is JodieMB Fitness. So if you just DM me the word podcast, I'll know what you've listened to. Or you can just click on the link in my bio on Instagram and I'll get in touch with you. But I'm speaking from experience as well. Like I know how difficult it can be asking for help. I think Ellen, from experience, you do as well. But I also think it's like one of the bravest things you can do. And your health and your happiness is so important. Um, so if you're the kind of person who doesn't really think about you, please start. Like I said before, we have over 3 months left of 2024. So the time is now. So much can be achieved in that time. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for listening or watching, everybody. Is there anything final you'd like to add, Ellen? Like, or have we we covered everything we wanted to say?
Yeah, you've covered everything yeah, and we've covered everything we want to say. So yeah, yeah, just join. Go for it.
Just joy. Love that. What a lovely place to end it. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching or listening, and we'll see you on the next one.